Evening to you viewers, welcome to the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television, where we are broadcasting live from the nation's economic capital, Douala. I am Innocent Aze. In our major stories, she took bullet wounds in the struggle to take her party to another level, but today becomes the prey of her party. This is the case of Barrister Michel Doki, who has been permanently suspended from the Cameroon Renaissance Movement opposition political party of Professor Maurice Kamto. Also in this edition of the newscast, we will talk about the family in Banguren subdivision of the west region of the country that's mourning 5 office members who died after their boat capsized in Kungmegba village. Details and more in this newscast. Good evening once more to you viewers. You're welcome to join us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. We begin with this sad story in the west region of Cameroon. 5 persons from the same family have died after their boat capsized in Kungmegba village, that's in Banguren subdivision. They were returning from a funeral ceremony when their boat capsized in the court over the Bambalang Lake. Thanks to the mobilization of the population, about 24 persons were saved, but 5 persons died. A.C. Lucy Liango has details.
Shock and consternation grieves the population of Kungmegba village, Banguren subdivision of the West region, as 5 members of same family drowned after a boat capsized. It occurred at Kungmegba, a locality which borders with Bambalang in the northwest region.
We had a lot of difficulties, but yesterday was worse before than ever. And we had more than 27 people who drowned into the sea. But so lucky enough, we were able, through our own fiscal effort, to save the life of 22, after which 5 among were dead.
The victim's 16-month-old baby died alongside her parents and other close family members, all returning from a funeral ceremony.
Parce que nous tous on était là-bas en Bissau. Donc ma grande sœur avait perdu son mari. Hier c'était le funérail.
It is believed that heavy rains and strong winds in the area could have been the cause.
La pluie a commencé, le vent, donc c'est même le vent qui les a tués. Ils étaient au fond de la rivière.
With the absence of a bridge, the inhabitants say sailing through the water with locally made boat has been their only means of transport. Their wish is for the government to make available ferries for the transportation of people.
It's just to cry to the government that can they give us the go-ahead so that the road should be open, so that engine boat, those who are capable of affording the engine boat, they can be able to do the transportation well. It is actually due to the lack of this engine boat that failed this program, and we lost 5 of our natives here.
The bodies were immediately buried, while the family remains inconsolable.
We stay in the west region. Tension has heightened in Mata village, Magba subdivision, Nous division, where between the population and their traditional ruler who has been dethroned. According to the population, their traditional ruler, or the third-class chief, removed his cap in front of the Sultan of Bamum Nabi Bombon Joya, implying he has automatically dethroned himself. The population also accused the dethroned third-class chief of selling the lands of the village. The traditional ruler in question is now seeking refuge elsewhere. We have more in the following report. This is where the third-class chief of Mata village in Magba subdivision, Nous division of the west region, now lives. Considered by the furious natives as traitor and outcast, he decided to seek refuge far away from the palace. He had no choice than save his life from the angry locals. According to this notable, he began portraying the ugly side of him after his enthronement by selling the palace. There was a second one which he also sold alongside the shrine. Their tradition was already disappearing. They noticed that their landed properties were already liquidated. Not only this caused the population to rise against their traditional ruler, but also the act of removing his cap in front of the Sultan of Bamoun. It is the last thing a traditional ruler should do. By removing his cap, it means he has dethroned himself, because in Mata village, that is unacceptable. He has automatically lost his chieftaincy title. The throne chief Martin Sahan III of Mata village refused allegation leveled against him. He sold the village lands and instead directing it to the chiefs of Magba.
Rien, c'est plutôt le chef de Magba qui était allé prendre 50 000 francs là-bas. On s'est rendu à la sous-préfecture pour ce même problème. Le sous-préfet a fait les enquêtes. Il a vu que c'était faux.
Even when the divisional officer of Magba declared it as false accusation, the angry population of Mata maintained their grounds and went ahead to enthrone a new chief, Henry Nimpa.
Pour le moment, je suis héritier. Nous sommes d'abord dans la tradition. Après la tradition, l'organisation pourra surgir.
The divisional officer of Magba considers this illegal and advised the enthroned chief to liberate the palace, otherwise will face the wrath of the law. These are the consequences of the tension between the Tikas and Bamuns ever since Nabil Bombonjoya visited Magba in February. We now take you to the far north region of Cameroon, notably in the Mayo-Tonagat division, where administrative buildings are dilapidating. The images were captured for us by our correspondents during their visit of the senior divisional officer. And the follow-up reports, Malak Glory will also be painting the situation that inmates at the Marwa Central Prison face.
An old building with broken ceiling whose exterior is falling into pieces. This is the picture of the Mokolo Principal Prison in the Mayo-Tonagat Division, far north region of the country. Created in 1952, the building is gradually going into ruin, with its growing number of inmates from original capacity of 150 to 467. Apart from these, the prison guard says there are other challenges such as
Nous avons également une autre difficulté, c'est l'approvisionnement en eau.
We also have water crisis here, electricity too. We spend much money on fueling generator.
Pour la prison semestriellement, c'est 23 000. Carton de 23 000. Donc ça ne sert absolument.
Lastly, the detainees are being abandoned by family members.
L'abandon des détenus par leur famille.
These complaints were presented to the divisional officer of Mayo-Tonagat Division during his visit at the prison. While there, he advised the detainees and promised them measures are being taken to ameliorate their situation. He also addressed the problem of insecurity, which he says is under control.
Avec la crise sécuritaire qui a
With the security crisis that has affected economic activities in the region, the forces of law and order have so far reinforced security in the area. Richard Marcel Tam noticed absenteeism at the Mokolo Principal Prison and warned those concerned to answer present at their different posts in order to avoid sanctions from falling on them.
Community development officials in the Manu Division, Southwest region of Cameroon, have blamed the government of creating centers without accompanying infrastructures and equipment. Speaking in Manfair, officials also blamed local councils and the local population for failing to involve themselves in their development programs. We will have more with Formi Armstrong Sana.
The challenges faced by local and community development stakeholders in the Manu division of the Southwest region runs from infrastructural to institutional and policy comprehension.
Other problem that we face as community development is that most of these SIAC centers has been created by the government, and there are no structures, there are no buildings, and some of them the government has even provided some materials for training of communities, but we don't even have where to keep those materials because there are no buildings. And presently, some of the buildings that we just have 2 out of the 5 SIACs that we have in the division. Those are the difficulties. And then most of the SIACs directors that have been appointed, they also need capacity building, that the government need to see into it that these SIAC directors should be updated, their capacity should be updated so that they can easily reach out to the communities. Most of the time when we go to communities and we talk about community development and SIAC, they are not aware. So that's why we have decided to call on the community to come together so that we can inform them about SIAC and local and community development.
In Akwaya, like the Upper Bayang subdivision to Eyumujok and Memphis Center, the situation has further been worsened by the Anglophone crisis.
I am Kolayab Daniel, a group from Masaka in Akwaya subdivision. Development started coming in our area, not of these years, but other partnerships were coming. But because of this crisis, it has now actually disturbed most of this development from coming to us.
To the divisional delegates of agriculture and rural development, the local population is ignorant of these decentralized programs of the Ministry of Agriculture.
And even our traditional councils should harness the services of these SIAC directors because they are there and because they are not calling them to be part of their community development committees. They don't get to feel the impacts of these SIAC directors. So we are pleading that the mayors should try as much as possible to work with the SIAC directors so that they help them to create these village development committees.
These worries and others were raised in the course of an educative one-day seminar organized in the Manu Divisional headquarters of Manfi to educate Manu Divisional communities on their role in assisting local community development projects.
We stay with Fomi Armstrong Sanda to talk about stakeholders in the Nzan division still in the Southwest region who have frowned at unconscious farmers making nonsense of efforts geared or aimed at boosting agriculture in the Toko and Mundemba subdivision. They say farmers found in this situation have to face the administration. These farmers have, however, been assured technical support by the Ministry of Agriculture. This report.
Nzan division, like several others across Cameroon, has agriculture as main economic activity. Though diversified with fishing, farming remains a strategic sector, considering the consistent efforts from their elected officials to empower those involved. Laudable efforts which are sometimes watered down by unconscious farmers.
National Assembly for handing over the measure to those who benefit from Toko subdivision. What we observed last time is that we gave these same seedlings to Munima subdivision. We realized that people took the seedlings and went to Nana, abandoned the seedlings there. And when we reported to the delegate, no action was being taken. But this time, I'm pleading, if you don't want to plant, leave it here. Please, if you don't want to plant, leave it here.
That which, however, could not deter Honorable Merime Boka.
That cocoa is money. What Honorable can give to you is cocoa, and that is money.
As a technical partner, the Ministry of Agriculture is determined to accompany these farmers to materialization.
Minade will continue to work to accompany them and make sure that the seedlings are actually planted, because the challenge is that most often when you give these things to young people, they don't want to plant. It becomes a big challenge for us. And at times you might see me back in your office, coming back to your office to report that a particular youth who took was not able to plant, and maybe there's another youth who is ready to plant, who can use your office to take it from him and give it to the other person.
Elected and local development stakeholders say the empowerment move aims at consolidating peace and social cohesion in the entire Njan division.
And now we also talk something else. Barrister Michel Ndoki has been permanently suspended from the Cameroon Renaissance Movement opposition political party of Professor Maurice Kamto. Suspension is contained in a release published on Thursday evening, July 13, 2023. According to the party's release, she is being suspended for defaming the CRM party and its president, Professor Maurice Kamto. The militant who stood solidly behind the party's electoral hold-up in 2018 and sustained bullet wounds is also accused of anti-party activities and lack of loyalty, among others. Barrister Michel Ndoki was arrested and detained after a nationwide protest called for by the CRM party. Upon her release from prison, the legal mind became increasingly popular for her bravery, or for the bravery she had shown both during her defense of Professor Maurice Kamto at the Constitutional Council and during the post-election protest. Barrister Michel Ndoki later declared her intention to challenge Professor Maurice Kamto in the party's primaries that was seen by her party comrade as a red line crossing step and has now been branded as an act of disloyalty. And now we take you to news out of Cameroon, this time in Sudan, to talk about the tension that continues between the two army generals. Several persons have died in the months of unrest in that country. Also recently, 87 bodies were also buried in mass graves in Darfur. The announcement was made recently, and also new developments from Sudan notes that the International Criminal Court has opened a new probe into alleged war crimes in Sudan. Karim Khan, that is the chief prosecutor, on Thursday announced that they're also investigating violence that's escalated over the year. Karim Khan made the announcement in a report to the UN Security Council after 3 months of war between fighting generals that have plunged the northeast African country back into chaos. The ICC has been investigating crimes in Sudan's Darfur region since 2005 after a referral by the UN Security Council, and the Hague-based court has charged former leader Omar al-Bashir with offenses including genocide. Khan said there have been a wide range of communications about alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in Sudan since the fighting broke out in April. Alleged sexual and gender-based crimes were a focus of the new investigation. It should be noted that around 3,000 people have been killed and 3 million displaced since violence erupted between Sudan Army Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Mohamed Hamdan Daglo Rapid Support Forces, that's a paramilitary support forces. And also in this edition of the newscast, we will as well be looking at this advertorial fight in by our reporter for me, Armstrong Sandam, who says Orange Cameroon has received one gratitude from Waspito for accompanying her to international victories and recognition. The thank you and acknowledgement of Waspito came from its founder, Jean Lobe in the course of a visit to present his awards won in France to Orange Cameroon.
Convivial, simple but beautiful atmosphere that the Director General of Orange Cameroon, Patrick Bernard, received the founder of Waspito, Mr. Jean Lobe. The Waspito founder came to thank Orange Cameroon for accompanying his project to international recognition and victories.
So Waspito basically is a platform that connects patients with doctors, labs, and pharmacies digitally. So this means you don't need to leave your home to have a consultation. You just go on the platform. Today is a mobile app available on Android and iOS. You just go to the platform, see doctors who are available online, and you click just a few clicks and you're consulting with a doctor. That's basically the definition of most telehealth platforms in the world. But what we are doing differently is that we've created something like a Facebook for healthcare. So today on Waspito, you can go and connect, follow doctors just like on Facebook, see articles that doctors have posted, like, share, comment, and interact, join groups that interest you, and you can do all that anonymously.
In 2020, Waspito benefited a financial assistance of €150 within the MIAC challenge of the Orange Venture Africa program. Waspito and Orange Cameroon later signed a partnership agreement in 2021, followed by enormous benefits as outlined by the founder Jean Lobe.
And that's what brought our relationship with Orange. And then eventually we also had, we have a partnership with Orange Cameroon, where Orange will be pushing Waspito to its users to help us get more visibility and more partnerships. Okay, so it's two key things. Number one is the mentoring and network provision. So they are there to give us guidance, give us some training, put us in contact with some key stakeholders in the startup world and also in the business world. And then secondly, Orange is an investor in Waspito as well. The first one, we won the digital challenge, they gave us a check, and then the next year when we're doing our seed round of funding, they also got a bigger check and invested in Waspito.
Interesting benefit that Orange Cameroon continue to place at the disposal of young Cameroonians and startups through programs like Orange Fab.
Nous croyons très fermement que les jeunes Camerounais ont des idées, peuvent avoir le talent pour développer des systèmes qui fonctionnent. Il faut qu'on soit là pour les accompagner, pour leur donner les leviers pour qu'ils puissent grandir normalement. Qu'est-ce que nous faisons en termes d'accompagnement? Eh ben, les startups ont besoin de quoi? Ont besoin de consolider leur idée. Donc c'est des formations, c'est un apport technologique éventuellement, c'est également des mises en contact, c'est le réseau pour essayer de les mettre en contact avec d'autres startups, mais également avec des experts qui peuvent leur apporter une compréhension différente ou des observations sur ce qu'ils sont en train de faire.
Orange Cameroon says candidates to these benefit from a global network of the Orange Group, constituting 17 fab labs planted in 4 continents across the globe. Worthy of note is the fact that this acceleration program of Orange Cameroon is 100% free.
And this with that advertorial that we end this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thanks so much for watching. Do have a splendid evening. But stay put to programs on Equinoxe Television. Bye bye, have a nice weekend.